Brooke told me last time when she listened to the pilot episode, she's like, you didn't talk like yourself. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're doing your radio voice. Stop it.
Yeah, because I've been accused of having a customer service voice.
Yeah.
When I was working at Chipotle, I had to run the line by myself, and we had like 5 people,
Right.
like working for the day, and I was being that creepily overly nice.
Hi, my name's
Yeah,
Josh.
yeah.
Welcome to Chipotle.
Hi, what can I get started for you? And you're like, oh, more chicken? Okay, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
And like
Your
just
hair
go-
looks wonderful today.
and-
It's great to see you.
And my kitchen manager behind me, who was running grill, she just like is wheezing.
She just, who are you?
You're not Santa. You smell like beef and cheese.
You sit on a throne of lies.
But yeah, I've been accused of having a customer service voice.
Well, like I fully know that I have a like radio voice that I do.
Oh, for sure.
Because when I go on the radio over in Barber, I have the, it goes from like me talking normal, like we're talking right now, to me doing the, I'm on the radio today and I want to speak very clearly and with a lower voice so that everything sounds nice. But
Right.
Brooke was like, yes, I'm doing that. You don't sound like yourself and it's not as engaging to listen to. So I'm going to start us off today with something that I hope that you're not going to be too disappointed in me. And what I need you to do is taper your judgment of me.
Oh, is this one of those things like we listen but we don't judge type of thing?
Yeah,
Or-
that'd be great. Yeah, let's practice that today. Let's make that our first one that we've ever done of that. So I've gotten on a kick on YouTube recently of watching Drumeo videos. You know who Drumeo is?
Maybe.
So like for anybody that's, if you're listening out there, Drumeo is not super safe for kids. What they're doing is it's a place where they bring in famous drummers.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
And a lot of times they'll take those famous drummers and give them songs that they've never heard before, but that are famous to like everybody else. Yeah. And they'll ask them to play, like they listen
Their
to it
version
without the
of it.
drum track, and then they have to play the drums for the song and stuff like that. And it's fascinating because some of those guys are just so stinking talented. I mean, like
Right.
Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, yeah.
The dude's
Oh,
crazy.
you mean Will Ferrell?
Well, yeah, Will Ferrell's like twin brother. So here's the thing: I've been listening or watching like a bunch of videos from Drumeo of all these different like famous drummers and stuff. The other day during my lunch break, I saw a video that was about Phil Collins, and so it's like an hour and a half or 2 hour long video, and it's all about Phil Collins, kind of the guy from Drumeo and Phil Collins' son, who is also a drummer, like a really good drummer. The two of them take Phil's like old set that's still locked up in boxes and all this stuff. They put the set together, right? So this is like his Genesis days set, so like
Okay.
old school stuff.
Right.
They're putting it out, and per his instructions, they put his kit together so that he can then come and sit at it, play it a little bit, and like talk to them about the old school drums and stuff, and like his style of drumming and everything else.
Right.
So here's the thing that I hope that you're not disappointed in me in. Brooke was, and I was kind of disappointed in myself because, and I'll explain that in just a second. Here's what I didn't know, and it hurts me that I didn't know this. I didn't know that Phil Collins was British.
Huh.
And I appreciate you holding back every bit of the judgment that you want to throw my way right now.
Huh.
Because, like I said, I had one of those moments. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so there's something to be said about that. Like, you don't necessarily sing in your accent. You kind of sing in an American accent.
True.
So, I can hold back the judgment. Like, okay, yeah, but
And I appreciate that, but let me just tell you how much dumber I actually am. Because in my mind, when I heard him with the accent on this video, I actually went back in my mind and put all the pieces together, and it was like one of those what do you call it, like one of those movies or a TV show where there's a person who's kind of gone through like all the different things, and there were clues, you know, in every scene, and it
like
replays
you did the red web.
yeah, it replays
you
all the moments in
connected.
their life, and they kind of see all the pieces put together of who the person was or who the killer was, whatever thing like along those lines. I had that whole thing go on in my head where I was like, Phil Collins was the drummer for Genesis. Genesis is a British band. And then I realized, like, there was just a number of different things that I went through in my head and put it together, and I was like, I'm an idiot.
Okay.
Because even in the Tarzan soundtrack,
Right, but he doesn't sing with.
but
a
he
British
does
accent.
though. Like in that one, if you listen to some of the songs in the Tarzan
But okay,
soundtrack,
but if you are you hearing it because your brain is telling you to hear it, Or is it actually there?
Maybe, but no, because I thought back on like a bunch of his songs, and was thinking like, all the stuff that I had heard prior, because he was just a drummer and like he sang backup sometimes for songs for Genesis and stuff, and so I was kind of willing to like be like, okay, maybe he was American that went and played for a British band, right? But then like his collection of music, like Phil Collins by himself. I started thinking through and stuff, and I was like replaying songs in my head, and I'm going, no, like I don't hear it. You don't hear the British accent, right?
Right.
But then I got to the Tarzan soundtrack, and like You'll Be in My Heart. There's definitive parts of that song where I'm like, oh, he's British. He's been British the whole time. And his son is American. His son doesn't have a British accent. He's like playing the drums on that thing and talking about all this stuff in there. So I don't know if his mom is American. I don't know anything about Phil Collins' wife, but his son's like a really good drummer and stuff. But yeah, that was my my revelation this past week. I told Brooke it absolutely melted my mind.
So, this might hurt too, but Sting is British too, right?
Sting, I didn't know. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Because I've seen Sting in like movies and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen him like interact with people. Like they've had him in like he's done like cameos in movies and stuff. And he's like he's British in that sense. But like I've never heard Phil Collins speaking because I've never been to a concert. None of that kind of stuff. I just knew of Phil Collins and knew his music.
Okay.
Because he's like super famous, but I'd never heard him speak. And then all of a sudden he's on there and he's like, as soon as the guy from Drumeo walks in, he's like, "Hello," and I'm like, what just happened? Like I told Brooke, like it's like my whole world just came crashing down around me. I had to reevaluate everything just because Phil Collins is not American. But anyways,
perfect. Well, on that note,
let's jump into this podcast.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning, Josh.
Recognize me? No? Well, I'm Josh.
I got suspended from school because of Josh.
You're going to be there with me in every way imaginable, Josh.
Josh is truly in a trance, yes.
I went to high school with Josh, and I can tell you right now, he's a terrific kisser.
Hi, I'm Joshua.
Josh, these are people's jobs we're talking about, Josh.
Thank you very
much. Hi.
Josh walking in the door wasn't even close.
Josh, you are a muffin-snuggling pirate puncher.
Josh is a good guy. We can talk to him.
Please welcome Joshua.
Josh!
I've got a story to tell if you'd like for me to.
Well, why don't
to
you
tell
start
a
off?
story.
Why don't you start off with a story?
Okay, I'll start with a question just to see where you're at with this. Have you ever heard of the dancing plague of 1518?
I have, but like I know very little about it. One of the podcasts that I consume, they do like going back to your Phil Collins revelation.
Yeah,
they connect. It's called Red Web. They do mysteries and things like that.
That's cool.
And I think they did an episode about it, but I don't really remember it. So
Gotcha.
why don't you tell me about the dancing plague?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And for our listeners, maybe you guys will learn something interesting about this as well. And I'll give a shout out to Ninjas Are Butterflies. This is where I picked up on it from naturally. Shout out to Josh Hooper. We know you're listening, and so hey, Josh, we want you to come on the show because we're all about Josh's here. So, anyways, the dancing plague of 1518. So in July of 1518. Residents of Strasbourg, which is now is in modern day France. Okay. They were struck by this kind of inexplicable phenomenon that came on, and it began when this lady, whose name was Fraulein Trophia, I think I'm saying that correctly. I have no idea. I don't write the names. You know what I'm saying? But she stepped out into the streets and began dancing uncontrollably, which in and of itself sounds weird enough, right? Like just some lady just starts dancing. The crazy part of this is that there's no music, no celebration, no nothing going on. This lady just starts dancing in the streets. And it gets crazier because she didn't stop, right? And it wasn't just we've had some spontaneous dance breaks and stuff at different places.
What was the flash mobs?
Flash mobs
that were really popular.
Yeah, so you've seen all that kind of stuff. The thing with this is that she didn't stop dancing. This wasn't like a 15-minute deal where she danced a little bit and then kind of died out real fast and stuff like that. She just kept going. And then to make it crazier, after a short amount of time, other people started to join her.
Really?
And so it's again, no rhyme or reason to it, no music, no celebration, no reason why anybody should be dancing at this point in time. But all these people start joining into it. And so within days, and I want to emphasize days.
Okay.
Within days, dozens of people were caught up in this new dance phenomenon thing that was going on in Strasbourg.
And you said this was in the 1500s?
1518. Yeah, it started in July of 1518. So they didn't stop dancing, right? They just keep going, and people kept dancing for hours and then days with no apparent cause and no control over anything. People were dancing, and it was almost as though they almost didn't want to be dancing, right? But they were dancing anyways. They just kept on going to the point that people began to get so exhausted that they were like falling down. People died from dancing.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So this lady comes out, starts dancing, and everybody else starts dancing with her. Or is it just like in the streets? Is it like
it's in the streets of the town of Strasbourg,
and like this goes on for days?
For days. And so this lady starts the whole thing off, but everybody starts joining in with her, right? So it says like some of the dancers reportedly collapsed from exhaustion, others suffered strokes or heart attacks, and several died. It was this crazy thing where it's just this like strange compulsion comes over them, and it quickly spiraled into what they called a full-fledged public health crisis.
Huh.
Which is wild.
Because you would equate that to like bird flu, swine flu, like a pandemic style.
Right. So initially, the local authorities believed that it could have been demon possession, which is like,
well, it is the 1500s, so that kind of tracks.
No, but like, get this, or they thought it was like demon possession or some kind of divine punishment that had come on to these people. So they literally called in priests and healers to come in with like holy water and the whole 9 yards and try to cast out these demons and stop it. But they couldn't. They couldn't get them to stop. And so because they couldn't stop it, the city officials decided to get this, because as I'm thinking this through and as I'm listening to them talk about it, reading about this thing, I'm thinking of a bunch of different ways that we could potentially stop people from dancing.
Okay.
So demon possession, sure. Back in the 1500s, I could kind of see where their minds went with that and stuff like that. Let's get the priests out here, that type of deal. I see how they kind of went along those lines.
Right.
And then at the same time, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, do we need to like restrain people? Do we need to put them in some place where they're contained because this seems to be contagious, right? Like I'm thinking through all these different things. The city officials, instead of doing any of those things, decided it would be a great idea to build a stage and hire musicians to play.
If you can't beat them, join them.
It says their hope was that the music would allow the people to, quote unquote, dance it out. Which is my favorite way for somebody to handle something like that is just like, you know what? Let's just let them boogie, you know?
Just roll around in the dirt a little bit. You'll be all right. Like,
that's essentially what it is, right?
But
but the problem is that the musicians in the band seemed to have the opposite effect. It only enhanced their dancing abilities when it kicked in, right? They go into like several theories about what causes this. One of them is like ergotism is what it's called, which is a fungal poisoning. So the idea was they thought that they were poisoned by ergot, which is a hallucinogenic mold that grows on rye products, and it produces a similar like kind of effect to LSD. The summer of 1518 had been particularly hot and wet in the region where they were at, so ergot might have gotten into the rye bread, right? Like into into making that. So here's the thing: is like The Last of Us.
Yes.
Well enough.
I know the gist of it. Yeah.
Okay, so
isn't that a brain like a fungus?
That's exactly what it is. It's essentially the ergot thing. This like mold gets into people's brains and turns them into these zombie like mushroom people. Is what they see in The Last of Us, and that's exactly what these people. Except for instead of turning them into these like zombies, they're dancers, man.
Could you imagine? Okay, let me pose a caveat though.
Okay.
Could you imagine dancing zombies? Like Resident Evil level dancing zombies.
You get bit and you get disco
you start
fever
dancing like Thriller IRL. Like
yeah. Oh my god!
Doing the boogie
That's
down
great.
the street.
So they think it could have been the ergotism thing.
Okay.
They think it could have been mass hysteria, which is
Okay.
a psychological phenomenon where groups of people, often under stress or extreme circumstances, begin to experience shared symptoms even though no physical illness is present, right? And so this is kind of like, mass hysteria
Well,
kind of deal.
It's like with like UFO sightings or like cryptid sightings, things like that. Like,
Yeah.
it just starts building, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, I saw it too. Oh, well,
That's
they
exactly
saw it,
right.
and it's like you just kind of perpetuate that snowballing.
Yeah, like Bigfoot is the explanation for every strange thing that we see walking in the woods at any point in time.
Naturally.
It's like it can never be a deer or anything like
No,
that.
no,
It's got to be Bigfoot.
no, or a bear.
Yeah, so it's that mass hysteria thing, and then the final thing was they said that, and this one to me seems like even more out there in a sense, but it said it could have been religious or ritualistic in its origin, basically given the medieval context of it, because it's during the medieval times. Shout out to Medieval Times if you want to be a sponsor. Are they still around?
Yeah, there's a like. Are you talking about like? Oh, I was thinking of like Red Fairs. I think there's
The
like
restaurant
medieval times.
I think
Yeah.
there's one in Florida the last time I was down in
Yeah.
Orlando.
Well, yeah, because I know like they have like the ones at Myrtle Beach and stuff like that, like the same thing, but it's just like pirates or
Oh yeah,
like Dixie Stampede.
Dixie Stampede.
But
every time I think of medieval times, all I can ever think of is Jim Carrey and the Cable Guy. Where he's like the chicken skin on his face, and he's like, "Silence of the lambs." Hello, Clarice. Did you miss me? That's good.
But
stuff.
being the 1500s, I'm guessing that was probably what they landed on.
Well,
not
so
science.
I don't think that anybody ever landed on like one like direct thing that they thought that it was. I think these were like three different camps, and I think there were more like than just these three answers, but they were the top
Right.
ones, right? So for that one, they were saying like because it was in the medieval times, that some believe the dancing was like a form of religious fervor or occult behavior. Particularly because such events were sometimes seen as forms of divine communication or like penitence in a sense.
Right.
Like you were supposed to dance out your sins or whatever that means.
Never mind. I had a thought pop into my head. I'm just like, no.
So like just to be clear, we don't believe in purgatory as believers outside. Like we're not Catholic, and so. But if you think about purgatory, if it was just like one giant disco.
Yeah.
And you get there and they're like, you got to dance out your sins, but
We're gonna be here for a while. Like,
you're like, how many times can I do the lawnmower?
it's like Dante's Inferno with the 7 circles, but that's like the outer rim of the
Yeah, exactly.
the first circle. It's like, oh nope, dance party.
Everybody's dancing their way in. Gosh. They said, although there didn't seem to be any religious link between the participants in the dancing other than their geolocation and the religious norms of that era, basically. Like, it didn't seem like all these people were not tied into the same religious organizations and stuff, and so they don't think that that's like a legit answer to this, right? But man, what a time. And so I'm going to give you like one last like crazy detail about
Okay.
it. After a month of uncontrolled dancing, the plague slowly went away without explanation. Approximately 400 people are believed to have been affected by this.
400?
Yeah, so we're not talking about just...
That's like an entire village in the 1500s.
It's not just Fraulein and like 2 of her friends. This is like the whole crew. Everybody's got dancing fever going on in this village. So 400 of them, after a month, it finally subsides. People died. People passed out, had heart attacks, all that kind of stuff from dancing too much. So here's my follow-up question, and then I'm done with the dancing plague, but I thought this was interesting. But here's my follow-up question. If you had to die by dancing, what's your go-to move? If I'm just picking one, I got one dance or style of dance that I got to do until I die. What are you going with?
Oh, I mean, that's hard.
It's a tough one.
Because do you want to know the first one that popped into my mind? The good old shopping cart, just the
shopping cart's a golden one.
Shopping cart or the airline stewardess.
Yes,
Just pointing forward, pointing to the side,
right.
pointing to the
And
back.
the exits
like,
are here. That's
yeah,
right. Exits are here. Yeah.
Like those are like it would have to
Barf
be
bag
like
in front.
those like gimmicky dad dances. Like
Yeah.
Like that's my go-to.
I was kind of in that same boat. I was thinking the lawnmower, like, is one of my favorites. I like the sprinkler. I kind of get down with some of those. And so, yeah, those cheesy dad dances, mainly because I don't think I'm coordinated enough to do anything else. I'd probably end up, like, dying from, like, snapping my ankles and stuff by trying to do anything more complicated.
Right. Could you imagine if somebody picked the worm and they were just, like, worming for a month straight?
Can you imagine, like the whole front of your body's just bleeding?
Right.
Oh, that'd be terrible.
I mean, you'd be shredded, but not in the good way.
Exactly. Like the opposite.
Like a cheese grater.
This is the opposite body I dreamed of my entire life. All right, so that's the dancing plague of 1518.
15. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of had a idea, and I know we had talked about doing this, and we kind of teased it in the intro episode. So I was thinking, you and I both play a lot of video games, right?
We do, yeah. Well, not as much as we used to.
Yeah,
but
this
yeah,
is true.
Hopefully, we do still play them.
Hopefully, if things work out well, we can kind of maybe play a little bit more video games together.
Yeah, that's an incentive for all you listeners out there. If you like and subscribe and do all the things and share this with your friends and stuff like that, then maybe when we get to like 250,
sure, yeah, 250, yeah, we'll start doing maybe some Twitch streams and things like that, and put out some video content for you. So give you a little incentive. So I was thinking, I have two different things. Well, one we'll probably get to later. So video games, big part of, I think, our growing up, like especially in college, like I think that's where a lot of video games that we tend to hold on to and love and still love and play.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Kind of came to be. So taking all the video games, like every video game that you've played.
Okay.
What video games would you want to see turned into movies?
Ooh, that's a great question, man.
And like, even if there is a movie iteration of it, would you just want to see it redone and better?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Man, that's tough. Like my mind goes straight to Halo being, I don't know, that like Halo was the game, right? Like that's what brought me to Xbox. It's the one that kept me interested for so many years. Like you and I, even like years later when it wasn't popular anymore, got back on Halo 3 and did a speed run through it and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The Halo franchise was just so good. The storytelling in it was really good. And so there's like,
I would say Bungie's storytelling was good.
Yes,
343 was not bad, but whatever they're doing with it now is just not. It's just a cash grab. But that's another discussion.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Halo kind of has a little piece of my heart, but there's also some decent content for Halo out there.
Right. Like, have you seen Fall of Reach?
Fall of Reach, I have not seen.
Okay,
no.
That's a good. Should. It's like an animated style, but it's really good because it kind of goes leading up to the first video game. So it kind of does like John, aka Master Chief.
Yeah.
Like going through the Master Chief process, which for those of you who don't like dive deep into lore, like that was a brutal process.
You're right. Yeah.
To where, they were tested on and things like that. But like it goes through that. It was really well done. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah, the process of becoming a Spartan was a whole different ballgame, right? Like, because they wanted these people to be, they wanted to be fear embodied.
Yeah, like basically places, like the intimidating presence.
Yep.
It's the scene from A New Hope where Vader comes in and just ignites the saber, and it's that just fear instilled right there. And I think obviously that's one for me too. The other one that I would love to see, or even, because it's such a well told and well made game, is Red Dead Redemption.
Okay. I can see that. I didn't spend as much time in Red Dead as a lot of people did. And I'll say this, like my only critique of Red Dead and the reason why I didn't get so far into it was because it just felt like GTA in the West.
Right.
And so it wasn't that I didn't like it and everything else like that. It was just, I don't know, it just felt like a replay of something so familiar. But I didn't get enough into the storyline. That was the hard part for me.
So like with the storyline, like I've played through a lot. Like it's a massive storyline, and it's a gorgeous game. it's what 10 plus years old at this point. Like Red Dead 2 is at least
right.
But Rockstar did an amazing job with that game because it still looks good. Like it looks like it could have come out now. But with the story, it's one of those things where like your choices have consequences. And the world builds around you. and you gain and lose reputation and things like that. So
Right.
it does have that element to it. But it's one of those things where no matter how good of a person you are,
Right.
you still can't completely control the end of the game. Like the end of the game is what it is.
Okay.
But,
It's gonna bring you back around.
Yeah,
full circle
exactly.
Somehow.
Which, like, it's one of those things where it, like, you want to be the good. Like, I have a very hard time playing an evil character in a video game, which is, to me, is bizarre because, well, we played D&D,
Yeah.
and my first character
Yeah.
was
Chaotic evil embodied.
like he was like, and
Yeah.
and that's such a stark contrast to me personally.
Right. Right.
And it's just one of those things where it's cool to see a game that, like, a lot of times you have, like, oh, you have a good ending, you have a bad ending, you
Right.
have an indifferent ending. With this one, it's not necessarily a good ending, even if you continue to do all the good things in it. And I
Okay,
think,
yeah.
like, as far as a storyline goes, like, I guess, you would have it set, as of what you're going to choose. It's not like, a YouTube movie where you can kind of pick and choose.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
right.
like I used to love.
Yeah, if you're gonna make a movie out of it, it's got to
Yeah.
be kind of a set line.
Right.
Of, this is what the guy's
but
gonna
it's
do.
but it's one of those things where it's like you could also have the alternate endings and things like that. But
Right.
like it's just one of those things where I think that would be a great video game series to bring to.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I if with the right guys acting in it, I would definitely watch it. Like I
Oh,
would,
yeah.
I would be interested in seeing that movie. One of the ones that came to mind for me, and it's a weird take, I'll say that much. Death Stranding. Did you ever watch any of the Death Stranding stuff, dude?
That's the one with what's his name? Or no, is that Death Stranding?
It's the guy from The Walking Dead that plays Daryl. I can't
yeah.
remember his name right offhand.
I can't either. He was in Boondock Saints.
Yeah,
and-
yeah. So he's the guy that plays the main character in it. So I watched a streamer, like he did multiple streams over different days, and I went back and watched all the VODs to watch it like all the way through. And Death Stranding, like the game in and of itself, is more movie-esque because they have so many cutscenes. I mean,
Right.
it's like and they're all like very cinematic in nature and stuff. If you were to take out the gameplay parts of it, like where you just kind of have to navigate through the things
Right.
and turn that into a full-length movie, it is mind-bending. It's one of the few games that I've watched from beginning to end and still like couldn't grasp every aspect
Right.
of it and stuff. But like a bunch of the stuff is just wild. Like the way that they kind of dreamed it up. I think if I remember correctly, and please, if anybody knows better, don't get mad at me for this. But if I remember correctly, it's like a Japanese guy that he's done a series of different games. And he just kind of has this like wild imagination for how things can work and stuff.
Right.
And he just let it loose in Death Stranding. And man, just the things that the main character kind of faces and the different twists and turns on it and the ending of the game.
Right.
It's all just mind boggling and stuff. And that was one of the ones that I was kind of thinking like, if you could do as good of a job making a movie that displays the same stuff that you see in the game and stuff like that,
Right.
that would be a really, really cool one to bring to life.
Yeah. And I mean, like, because, like, I had, like, a few flood my mind of, like, oh, that would be really good. But then I'm like, I play a lot of RPGs. So, like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of choices built into the video games.
Right.
So I was thinking, like, it'd be really cool to see crap, now I can't even remember what game I was thinking of.
Could you bring Skyrim to life?
Well, like, I was thinking, like, Skyrim or, like, a Soulsborne game.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Elden Ring or something like that,
Right.
where it is already cinematic.
Elden Ring is a wild.
And even,
story.
like, the
I would not like to see some of those bosses brought to life, though.
I-
They're terrifying enough to see
Yeah, you're right.
in a video
Like,
game.
But, like, I was thinking, like, those would be really cool, but we've kind of already gotten iterations of those. Like, I mean,
Sure.
like, if you think of, like, Lord of the Rings, like, with the Skyrim, like, it's kind of that,
Yep.
that vibe, that style.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, even, like, Fallout, like, the Fallout TV series, like,
Yeah.
it was really well done.
I did
Like,
enjoy Fallout.
it
And I
was-
wasn't a big Fallout player, you know
Right,
that.
yeah.
So,
And that's the other thing, too. Like, I love Fallout, and in taking it out and, like, looking at it as somebody who's never played the games,
yeah.
like, it's a good representation of the games. Like,
Right.
you're kind of, like, especially, like, when she first comes out of the vault, you're kind of, like, awestruck and, like, hopeless. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know what's going on out here. and you're so naive to the way things are, and then you kind of
You pick
get
it up
in
as
that
you go
groove,
along,
and you kind of see that like leveling up, so to speak, as you gain experience out in the world. Like I think that was really well done.
Yeah.
But I was
You want my hot take on a good one to
Yeah,
make into
go
a
ahead.
movie? Goat Simulator.
Oh my gosh! Like, and I was gonna say, had you finished it yet?
No, I never made it past like where you and I left
Okay.
off in Goat Simulator.
Yeah,
so
no, I think I just have like a couple of the secret areas to do, and I have that game completely done.
it
But,
would just be hilarious to see
gosh.
like almost
well,
like a third person view of a goat, right? That you're just following as he goes on this rampage through a
it would
town
be
and-
like watching the movie Rubber.
yeah, that's funny,
Yeah, you want to talk about a bizarre horror movie,
right?
the movie Rubber, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then on the flip side,
Yeah.
are there any video game movies that you think should have never been made?
Oh my gosh.
One comes to mind because I have a special place in my heart for the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though they do not follow the video games at all,
Not at all. Yeah.
I love those movies, and I don't know why. Like,
No, I'm on board with you. Like, and this is the odd one to me, right? Is that my wife Brooke likes the Resident Evil movies. Never played the games,
Right.
none of that kind of stuff. But she's actually a fan of those, and so we've watched all of them. Like when they came out and stuff. Like we were big fans.
They're like so bad they're good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think through like all the different video game movies and stuff like that. I give a lot of props to the people that made Sonic for changing it from that
because of
terror creature that they originally had.
peer pressure.
That's like slated
Internet
as
peer
yeah,
pressure.
oh gosh. The whole world was like
Yeah.
angry at them. Like, how dare
I
you
mean,
make Sonic look like that?
did look a little janky.
Oh, a little. That Sonic looked terrible.
Right.
Thank goodness they changed that. I thought like I mean, obviously the Mario movie was a killer. That was good. I'm trying to think through if there's any like video game movies that I've seen.
I can tell you one that
Go for it. I'd love to hear it.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Brothers. Are you talking
Yes.
about like
the original, like the '80s movie?
don't-
It was like
I don't know if I ever
it might
saw
have been
that one.
'80s or '90s. It was in the vein of like when Mortal Kombat came out, like in those.
Which Mortal Kombat better than they should have been.
Oh
for
yeah,
the
that
time
movie.
they came
Yeah,
out.
like
yeah.
everybody's like that's such a terrible movie, and it's like you don't understand.
yeah.
Like that
You
is
don't
the
know.
game. Like it was so campy, but it was so good. But yeah, Super Mario Brothers.
yeah.
Like just look up like what the Goombas looked like from the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Okay. This is from the 80s,
It's like 80s, early 90s.
1993.
Yep.
Oh, I do remember this.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, because the guy with the little tiny lizard head, I remember
Yes.
that. That's creepy. There were Goombas in it, though?
Or maybe, well, I want to say
Are
like
those the
they-
guys you're thinking about?
Yeah, it was, or maybe they referred to those as the Goombas, but no, the Koopas.
Oh
yeah,
my
the Goombas
gosh.
and the Koopas. Yeah.
That was John Leguizamo or whatever
Yes.
his name was Luigi?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And the guy that was wasn't he one of the Wet Bandits in Home Alone? Yeah, that's him. The guy that was like one of the thieves. What was his name?
Harry?
Marv and Harry. Or no, so was it?
No,
No, it's
because
Marv, right?
that John
Who was the
Leguizamo?
short guy? No, not
That's
not
Joe
John.
Pesci.
Huh?
that's Joe Pesci.
Was it?
Yes.
Man, this guy looks like him though.
I mean, what? Because he's Italian?
He's short and he's bald and he's got
He's short, bald, and Italian. It's got to be.
It's
him.
got to be him. It's Joe Pesci.
Yeah,
I don't know
no,
what you're
that's Joe
talking about.
Pesci.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe
What do-
Pesci. I know you're listening.
What do I look like, a plumber to you?
Get the van.
But yeah, no, that was a fever dream of a movie. Like that, it's
That's funny. I completely blocked that out of my memory. Maybe because it was that
rightfully
bad.
so. Yeah, because I was thinking like Street Fighter wasn't great, but it was
okay enough.
it wasn't as bad as this sounds and as low of a bar as this kind of is. It wasn't Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Like
yeah.
it tried to be Mortal Kombat, but like it wasn't.
Well, that's what they've been trying to do all along since the video games came out. And stuff,
Yeah, you're
'cause
not. Yeah, you're not wrong.
They've all been in that same vein. Can we talk about the fact that one of the best movies to come out in those early to mid '90s, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they were in
my
those like
gosh.
rubber suits, but
Yes.
like they were terrible looking. But looking back on that, you're like, that movie was so stinking good. Shredder in that movie,
Dude.
amazing.
Yeah.
I used to love that stuff.
Yeah, no, I probably wore out my VHSs of those because I watched them so much.
Here's a fun one for you. I saw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in that era live in concert.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Do you remember Vanilla Ice
Oh,
doing
yeah.
the Go Ninja,
Ninja,
Go
yeah.
Ninja, Go, that song?
Yeah.
I saw Vanilla Ice and the Ninja Turtles do a live show, choreographed fighting, dancing, singing, the whole nine.
Huh.
When I was like 12 years old, maybe 11, 12 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that would be about that.
It was awesome.
Good old Rob Van Winkle.
Yeah, good old Rob. Yeah, that's like one of my, like, I wouldn't say like fondest, but like one of the memories from my childhood
Like
that's
one
like
of those
stuck
core
with me.
memories.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
Which is crazy because I don't remember anything from my childhood.
Same.
Isn't that weird?
It's so weird. Like, we can get into that a different time, but it's...
Yeah, we should have like a whole discussion about like the ability to remember things, because as hard as I try sometimes, there's only like there's a few like core memories that rattle around, and that's about it.
When you, and this is just a little small rabbit hole.
Yeah.
When you remember something, you're remembering the last time you remembered it. So you're not actually
now my head
pulling. Yeah, you're not actually pulling the physical memory out of your head. You're remembering the last time you remembered it. So that's why, like, you have something that's so vivid, but as time goes on, you lose it because your brain is just remembering the last time. So it's like the last save point.
No, that hurts my head so much. I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, and it just I don't know that I'm going to be able to, but
Yeah.
okay. I'll accept that, and we'll come back to it. I'll think on that, and we'll have a discussion about.
Well, while you think on that,
how
why don't you
memories
tell
work
us
later.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about our sponsor?
So our sponsor is the Salt Collective. You've heard us mention them on the previous episodes. And when we talk about the Salt Collective, they are an organization that exists to help small businesses and nonprofits to be able to promote their business or nonprofit, to be able to help them with their business organization. They offer a lot of different things that they can do to help your small business or your nonprofit that you're involved in, to be able to drive customer base, to be able to help bring in donations, whatever it is that you need assistance with, the Salt Collective is there for you. We would love for you to take the opportunity to go check out their website, which is RemainSalty.com. Again, that's RemainSalty.com. If you go to their website, you can see all the different things that they offer. You can kind of figure out how they operate and stuff. One of the things that we love about the Salt Collective is the fact that when they come alongside of a small business and that small business hires them on to do work for them, part of the proceeds that they make from that go towards helping a nonprofit organization to be able to promote themselves. If you're a small business out there and you just decide to hire on the Salt Collective, one of the things that you're going to be doing is guaranteeing that a nonprofit business is going to be able to then continue doing what they're doing to a greater degree by helping them out with that. One of the ones that I'll use as a for instance is Silver Creek Repair right here in our hometown. They use the Salt Collective for a lot of their social media stuff. And if you go check out their Facebook page, you're going to see they do an awesome job. And a lot of that is because the Salt Collective is right there partnering with them, helping them along the way. And because of their partnership, there are nonprofits that get to do the same thing as well. So again, we'll shout out the Salt Collective, RemainSalty.com. Go check them out and see what they're all about. Check out their Facebook page if you want to see more information on the things that they've been doing. And if you're a small business owner or if you have a nonprofit that you work with, they would love to partner with you. So go check them out, RemainSalty.com.
So how's your brain?
Oh, man. The brain's hurting today because now that we're talking about memory stuff, and on top of the memory stuff, Phil Collins being British. I mean, there's a whole thing, So, yeah. Can I ask you one of our hypothetical questions before we get out of this? This one was another fun one that I came across when I was just kind of compiling a list of hypothetical questions for us to ask. And so today's question is this. If you could summon any creature from mythology or horror fiction to be your personal guardian, but it could only protect you by causing harm to others without killing them, which creature would you choose and why? So a mythological or horror fiction creature, you get to pick it to be your personal bodyguard, but it can only protect you by causing harm to others without killing them, right? So it is a non-lethal mythical creature.
Mythical creature or like
or anything from a horror like fiction film, anything along those lines.
I don't know why I don't know why I feel this was very easy, especially if you say harm but not kill. Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
Because
give me your reasonings behind that.
Well, because one, they're not going to go to sleep because in fear of him haunting their nightmares. Two, he can torture them in their nightmares if they are asleep.
Okay, so you're playing the psychological warfare kind of game.
For
is what
sure.
what you want.
For sure. I mean, come on. It was either that or Michael Myers.
Okay.
But like, I was like, that would be like horror, but like mythological? I don't know.
Like the kid in me initially just goes dragon. I just want a dragon.
I don't know. I've always had a soft spot for Cerberus, though.
Cerberus? Okay,
Yeah.
that's a fun one. I like
Yeah.
that. Like Harry Potter style Cerberus, or
Well, yeah, or mythological.
mythological from like Hades and stuff.
Right, which, gigantic 3-headed dog.
Yeah, what's not to like?
Exactly. Exactly. But like, after, like, you could literally just lay on him. Just like, he's like surrounding.
Ride him around.
Yeah. And
That's kind of my deal with the dragon, right?
Yeah.
Is like if he's my bodyguard, I could also just like ride him as my mount, and so never have to drive again. It'd be cool if you could figure out some way, like even with Cerberus or a dragon or something like that, to kind of strap like a pod that was like a bed or something like that onto it, so you like travel distances and you just go to sleep, and they like when you arrive, they just kind of wake you up or whatever.
Right.
That'd be cool.
Hey.
It'd jostle you around a little bit on their back, just shake you. That'd be funny. I thought that was a fun one. Like I just thought, like, we do a lot with D&D and stuff, with coming up with our own characters and creatures and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, like, man, what would I want for my bodyguard? But I think about the dragon thing too. I wonder if it's a magical dragon, because I need one that could fit in the house.
Oh, so you're talking like...
It doesn't do me a lot of good to like guard me if he can't be around me all the time.
Okay, so that goes on a different caveat of dragons, because like if you take like dragons from like How to Train Your Dragon, or
which are like sized enough where they could fit in the house type of
right,
stuff.
or like Game of Thrones, which are huge, but
Right.
they start like any other animal, like
They
babies
grow
and-
to be huge. Yeah.
I was thinking, if you go with the D&D logic, a lot of those dragons can transform into other smaller animals. Like a lot of them like will become like cats or like humans or things like that, where that's the form that they present most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
But they're still a dragon, so they can go dragon mode.
That's kind of like what we see in The Witcher. Like,
Okay, never.
oh, okay, you never watched the
Yeah.
series? Okay, yeah. In that one, there's a dragon that presents himself as an old man and like is walking around with the main characters and stuff and talking with them and stuff, and then eventually it gets to they get to a place where they get to talk to him as a dragon. He's this giant like golden dragon and stuff, and so that one was kind of a neat concept too.
Yeah.
So, what was the name of? Was it you or was it me? I don't remember who it was that had the little. No. That was when I was listening to
NPC D&D?
Yeah.
Viva la Dirt League?
When those guys were playing, they one of them had the little demon guy that was with him all the time and stuff like that. He could like summon him whenever he wanted to and stuff like that. That would be kind of funny. All right, you got anything else you want to jump into on this episode? We're approaching pretty close to time, I think. Yeah, we're like right at 53 minutes.
I'll just leave you with this. Would you, or like a hypothetical question?
Okay.
If you became a billionaire and
Oh.
could eat anything without fear of gaining weight, what would it be?
I'm a billionaire,
Yeah.
so I can afford.
Or no, wait. Okay, I'm sorry. If you had to choose becoming a billionaire, or you could eat without gaining weight, what would it be?
I'd become a billionaire. There's just too much I could do with the money, like good for other people and stuff in that sense. Like I don't know, I can exercise to make myself stay fit and stuff like that. So or limit myself from certain foods if I have to. But the $1 billion, like $1 billion is crazy amount of money.
Right.
I don't think most people even like register how big a billion is. That's a lot of money.
Right. Yeah,
So-
it's like one of those things where it's like even counting to 1 billion, it's crazy.
So like I look at that and just kind of go like, okay, like $1 billion doesn't end world hunger, but man, it could do a pretty big chunk of helping out with that. And, I could do a lot of good for people with the money and stuff like that. Now, if it's the question of I only get the choice of you can pick like one thing that you can eat and never gain weight from it and stuff like that, it's Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, for sure.
Dude, straight off the line when that
the
hot
hot
now
now
sign.
sign?
Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness.
The
Like,
red lights on, you're like, oh.
Yeah, well, it's like I got $2.50 in my bank account, but that $2.50 is about to go towards some hot donuts.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, it's like there used to be I don't know if they still have it, but there used to be a survey code on the bottom of the receipt,
Right.
where you could fill out the survey and you get a free donut.
Yeah.
Like from Krispy Kreme. Well, you give that, you go fill out the survey and give the thing. Well, they would give you a receipt for your free donut
Yeah.
with a code on the bottom. So
It's
you-
an infinite donuts.
yeah, you have
basically.
your infinite donut glitch.
As long as you're willing to keep going back and filling them out,
exactly.
that's funny.
Exactly.
No, they have the day. There's one day out of the year, I think it is, that they do you buy a dozen and you get a dozen for $1, and that is hands down like my favorite day of the year. my inner fat kid just screaming. It's like, we're getting donuts. Like, we gotta go.
Well, it just stinks because there's not a ton around here. I mean, the
No, it's
closest one
it's the one in Akron. Yeah. But that's where I go. And on that day, the line is around the block.
I know that Krispy Kreme is in probably the worst spot for a drive-through.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That you have to. The best place to go is that parking lot across the street, and just like
Walk in.
yeah, play Frogger and make your way across the street and get in there. But yeah, like if you walk in and order them and stuff like that, it goes a little bit faster than the drive-through. But man, alive, I love Krispy Kreme donuts.
Gotcha.
I'd fight a small child for that.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so let's remind the people, what do we want them to do?
Go ahead and wherever you're listening to this, give us a like, subscribe, a review, 5-star review, please. If you like what you hear, let us know. We can start reading comments when we get them, and we are going to try to read every single comment
Yeah, that's right.
that comes in.
We're committed to reading your comments, so make sure you comment there. Listen, if you're planning on leaving like a 1-star review because you're just not into what we're talking about and stuff, do us a favor. Just stop listening and don't leave the 1-star review because all it does is hurt us. We'd love for 5-star reviews.
Right.
And if you want to leave us a 5-star review and then tell us how bad we are at this, that's fine too, but just leave a 5-star review. That's all we're asking
Yeah,
for.
that's all we're asking. And then make sure you tell your friends. That's the best way for these smaller podcasts to get out into the world is just word of mouth.
That's right. Word of mouth is a huge, huge thing for us. And then don't forget to go like our social pages as well. If you're on Facebook, or I think Instagram is the other place
Yep,
that we have set
we'll
up.
have Facebook, Instagram. Eventually, we'll have YouTube, Twitch, depending on how this thing goes.
Yeah, so go like us on all those places, especially on the Instagram and Facebook, because that will be the place where we'll start announcing whenever we launch Twitch and all the rest of those things. So you'll be able to stay up to date on what we're doing there. And we'll also be talking about it here on the show. So we would love for you to follow us there. Otherwise, we love you guys very much. We hope that you have an awesome day.
All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Be serious, for crying out loud.
Yeah, what do you think this is, a joke?
There's no laughing in this comedy podcast.